So yesterday we talked about the basic instruction on the walking and the sitting meditation. So tonight we'll look into an important area for the development of this Satipatthana meditation, or in fact actually for all forms of meditation, in all forms of Buddhist meditation. Now we'll look into the area of mindfulness. But mindfulness tonight we'll look into more practical aspect rather than the theory, too much theory on it. Yeah. Now this mindfulness thing, this Pali word is sati. We hear this talk maybe untim times, many times. Yeah. But there are people, there are yogis who heard of it so many times, but when they come to the practice of it, they develop the wrong things. Of course, one area you have to have some basic understanding, basic knowledge about mindfulness. But what is more important is that when that mindfulness arises, or when that mindfulness does not arise, you also have to know it by your own experiences. That not only you understand it whether it arises or not, or it did not arise, or it didn't arise, and also there's another part is to differentiate between, especially between mindfulness and concentration. But here we don't worry about concentration yet. More importantly is for us to recognize this nature of this mindfulness, this quality of this mindfulness, and it arises in our practice. You see, this mindfulness of the development of this mindfulness. Nowadays, of course, it is spread into many areas. Not necessarily is under Buddhism, but now secular. It goes into psychology. It goes into medical field. It goes into education. It goes into many areas. Now, for the purpose of this Vipassana meditation, we got to isolate the type of mindfulness that we want to develop for the progress of meditation. To understand this mindfulness for the practice, it is important that firstly, whenever our mind goes into the story inside the memory in the past, or it goes into the future that you're planning and so on, that these two extreme, if you fall into it, let's say today that you have a lot, that other words, that time you are not mindful. Here it lives with our present moment, the present mental state. But not all present state is mindfulness. It's only an area that it is mindful, and others which is also present, they are not mindfulness. Now let's say when you are at home, not here. Let's say when you're at home and you're doing your gardening, you're doing opening a door, closing a door, you're walking here and there. Your mind is present, but are you mindful? There's some degree of presentness there. And the mind is present, the mind is doing something. So there's some degree of presentness there, but these are not mindfulness. These are only, for us, for me, I use the word, it's just simple awareness of the present. But occasionally, even when we are at home or when we are out there, we are also have some degree of mindfulness. It's only when your mind is like heightenedly aware of when you are doing something. Say for example, you are handling hot water. You are using something very sharp. You put extra alertness, you put extra awareness into it. Or when you are driving, for example, and when there is a rain and you could not see clearly what is in front of the car. Your mind is all heightened up. Your mind is all fully alert. So that one, it's where the mindfulness comes in. So although we have that mindfulness, but when that situation or when that condition over, our mind goes back to the present, normal awareness. So here, the mindfulness is where your mind is heightened up. Your presentness of your mind is heightened up. And when we are in this retreat, we want to have that heightened awareness for this retreat. Not the present, normal, everyday type of awareness. Therefore, when we are able to differentiate these two, then it makes our mindfulness, it makes our practice becomes clearer. So it is that heightened awareness that is highly alert that we want you to try throughout the whole day, that you can able to sustain some of that degree of that heightened mindfulness or heightened awareness. So with this heightened awareness, then it gives rise to all kinds of mental development. Without this mindfulness, without the developing of this mindfulness, a lot of our meditation, even it will not start, or it will go haywire, or it goes into the wrong path. It is this mindfulness that it sets the foundation for all forms of Buddhist meditation. You want to practice metta, you start off with that mindfulness first. Then only the metta is the right metta. You want to practice the 32 parts of the body, then again here the mindfulness is the one that is start off. If not, if you do these 32 parts of the body wrongly, then again it goes into a lot of wrong form of meditation. So too when it comes to this Vipassana meditation, a lot of times if the yogi practice this meditation without that mindfulness, somewhere in the beginning or somewhere in the middle of the meditation, then the yogi will go into a lot of all kinds of attachment, craving, wrong perception, everything which is wrong. So when it comes into this practice, therefore we have to exercise on it again and again throughout the day, day after day, that we want to bring about that heightened awareness, that clear mindfulness. Now take a look at how you are doing eating today. Breakfast time. During the breakfast time, I'm the first one to sit down and I'm the last one to get up. Everybody is faster than me. But I'm not the yogi. You are the yogi. The yogi has to go slower than the teacher. You see, the way that some of you are eating, the way that I just scanned for the first day, for the breakfast and lunch, you eat like whether you are at home or out there, as if like you are eating, you want to go for work. So you are not really aware of what you are doing. You are just habitually doing what you are doing. So here, while we are eating, your job is to make sure that there is a clear awareness of what you are doing. Now, for example, when you are scooping your food, then this time you're scooping, mentally you say it out, scooping, and you're taking in slowly, and you put it into the mouth. Then only when you put in the mouth, after that, you slowly bring your hand down. And then only you start biting, chewing. Then after that, you learn to swallow it, swallowing until you have completely finished the sensation. But many of you are not doing it. Many of you is like, when you are chewing it, you're already searching for which scoop for you want to take more. And some of us, while we are biting, the hands is already ready for the next scoop to eat, Or some of you are not even mindful, you're already eating, While you're eating, you're looking at the mountain, you're looking at everybody else who is taking the food on the table, but you're not mindful of what you are doing. So even that when eating, our eyes is more or less onto our tray, around the tray. You're not supposed to look here and there. Then again, you do it again. You repeat it again and again. With this way, scooping, scooping, biting, biting, chewing, swallowing. This is how you do it again and again. Therefore, moment after moment, the mindfulness comes in. Even like when you are opening the door or you're closing the door, learn to feel the door first, learn to feel the warmness or the coldness of the door, then only you slowly push and open. So too, like when you are wearing your shirt or when you're taking off, putting on a shawl, every small little thing that you put awareness into it, you put clear awareness into what you are doing. Moment after moment, you take you a few days just for you to do in this way, you will see that the momentum will start picking up. So this is how we do the eating meditation. How we do the opening door or wearing the sandals or wearing a shoe or taking off your shoe. Every small little things that we take it for granted at home. Over here, we turn them into a meditation practice. This is a lot of this method of practice. It is not normally do it in other forms of meditation, but in Vipassana meditation, all these small little things are as important as you're walking or as you're sitting. So this one also, it will help us to self-check. So whenever we are doing this walking, sitting, or whenever we are eating or taking a shower during this time, we ask ourselves, am I alert? Am I clear in the present moment? So if you are not alert, you will able to know it for yourself, then you step up the effort. Then you do this, especially for those beginners, and you do this repeatedly again and again. Over some time, you begin to feel the mindfulness is coming in. When it's there, you know it's there. When it's not there, you also know it's not there. So here, the heightened awareness and the heightened alertness of the mind is one of the characteristic or one of the nature of this mindfulness. Now, another characteristic or another nature of this mindfulness is also what we call superficial. You see, superficial is like earlier I described that we do everything without mindfulness. Like for example, when we're at home, that we just do whatever that we are doing. But when it comes to non-superficial, that means we pay a closer attention to what we are doing. Say for example, like when we are walking meditation, when you begin to feel the hardness or the softness of something, then here is that the mind is there in the present, not just only walk, but the sensation that you begin to pick up. Then, for example, when you are doing sitting meditation, if the pain arises, not just aware of the pain, but you have to aware the pain, you have to take note of the pain a bit more clearly. What type of pain that is going through right now? Nowadays there are also some meditation technique. When it comes to the pain, it just asks you to see, when the pain is there, just be there. For Vipassana, this is not enough. Vipassana, we have to go below or further deeper, slightly deeper into the pain in order to scrutinize the sensation or scrutinize the nature of that particular pain. So when you do this again and again, it develops some degree of good habit, because that habit to able for you to keep pushing to keep noting, it will be very helpful for you from one retreat to another retreat and for the future. So in many ways, like when you are doing sitting meditation, if you notice the rising and falling of the abdomen, again here, when you're able to notice the rising and falling, pay a little bit closer to see how the movement of the rising and falling is like. So when you put that exercise to it, then the mind goes a little bit deeper into the nature of what is happening. So we want that type of nature of the mind, that when you are noticing something, you're aware of it a little bit more than what you do when you're at home. Now, there is another quality of this mindfulness, which is the quality of acceptance. Now, the quality of acceptance here is where the mind can take whatever pleasant or unpleasant objects that arises as you pay attention. Sometimes we think that mindfulness, or sometimes we think that this Vipassana meditation is just to pay attention. But a lot of times, yogis tend to choose what they want to see, but those things are unpleasant, they want to push it aside, or they want to cover it up. One of the obvious one is usually the physical pain, that you want to pay attention to other more pleasant object, but when it comes to unpleasant object, the mind does not want to see it, although they are clear. Or sometimes there are yogis also, for example, the rising and falling that they notice. So when they pay attention to it, this rising and falling was this way, it goes very nice, very clear. But rising, falling, sometimes it change. The pattern starts to change. And it goes a little bit rougher, a little bit tighter. But they don't want that. They want that nice and pleasant one. Yeah? So a lot of times when things are not pleasant to them, like that particular way of how rising and falling is moving, the mind does not want to see it. The mind wants to choose what is a better one. That means, in other words, the acceptance, the quality of acceptance is not there. Also, another thing is that and also another area is even worse than the body sensation is the mind states, the different mental states. Sometimes when we meditate, a lot of our past memories, which can be sad or anger, may spring up, may come up without us arousing it, without us trying to recall it, but it comes on its own. For example, the sadness of, let's say, for example, our parents or mother passed away. So whenever we recall that image of our mother, past or departed mother, then sadness keep crying. Yeah, we keep the sadness or the crying keep coming up. Sometimes there are some people want to suppress that memory, or sometimes there are you did something wrong or somebody did you wrong and you remember during the sitting and you really don't like that memory. You want to suppress that memory. So the more that you suppress it, the more anger or the more your mind becomes go haywire. So even these mental defilements like fear, anger, and so on, all those things has to be accepted too, because they are part and parcel of Vipassana meditation. This way, this acceptance, it becomes finer. It becomes even finer as you develop into this meditation further. Because there will be a lot of things that it changes within this mind and body that you are not comfortable with. But because we hold on to what we think, what we believe is right, rather than what is being shown to you. So what you think is one thing, and what you feel is totally different thing. Now, here a lot of times, yogi gets confusing. What I'm going to do right now? Finally, is actually whatever being shown to you, these are the something which is real, and something that you really have to face on them. We will talk about this acceptance as we go into the different aspect of the mental hindrances or mental defilements, and we're going to look into it deeper. Another quality of this mindfulness is it has the quality of what we call confrontation or face-to-face. The meaning here is that when you pay attention to an object with mindfulness, and what the mindfulness do is it brings the whole attention go close to that particular object. So when it goes close to an object, this is where concentration, your wisdom power or your discernment or your other mental factors starts to work on that particular object. As if like you are you got something and you're putting a magnifying glass on top of it, and therefore you could see things clearer. So here it's where it gives you that condition that when the mindfulness is there, then the next thing is that the mind starts to scrutinize that particular object. That scrutinization, that investigation, not by thinking, this one is done by the wisdom factor of the mind. Here, for example, there are people, when they do meditation, when for example, like again the pain, when you pay attention close to the pain feels stronger. But when you, as if like you look from it from far away, it feels bearable, not so painful. So like, even like, and when people do some walking meditation, also the same. They just walk, look at the surrounding, look at the birds, look at the trees, but then they are not really close to their object. They don't really pay attention to the object. They don't really sink into the object, but the mind is away from everything. Now, some of us come to retreat without understanding how to arouse that mindfulness. They do the same thing that what they do at home, and they repeatedly again and again. After a number of retreats, then they ask themselves, what have I been achieving? It's still the same old me. It's still nothing much. Now, this quality of this mindfulness, these first few qualities which are helpful for the beginner's practice. But when you go into the deeper aspect of the practice, then the mindfulness, it shows slightly different quality. It becomes clearer, these qualities. One of the quality is that it shows you the flexibility of the mind. Because here, in the Vipassana objects, they are not just one object, but there can be different objects come up. But the mind can able to take them however they come, however they change. That we will also perhaps will talk into the later aspect of the Dhamma talks, other talks. Now another aspect of this mindfulness, also when you see that after a number of days, if you do it here, is the quality that it guards your senses. Here what it means over here, to give you a simple example, if let's say today you have been doing the lifting, pushing, stepping, and you pay attention to it carefully. During that time, while you are doing it, you still could actually hear and see other things, but the mind is not attracted to those things. It is more towards on what is going on with the lifting, pushing, dropping. So even if let's say tomorrow you were to try to eat mindfully, carefully, you will see that your senses is still there. But when you are chewing, biting, and so on, there are people sitting in front of you, or people are taking food and all that thing. You still know, but you are not interested in all of them. You are only interested in what is going on within this mind and bodily process. So when it guards the senses, it makes the mind much more stable. You are not suddenly something at the side trigger you must see, or something trigger in the sound you want to hear, you want to look. But the mind, whatever sound or whatever people is there, but the mind is so much more stable. That means, other words, it guards all the senses. You know, have you been to like Thailand, Burma, you know? Like in the morning time, we go out for the alms round. We use the bowl and so on. So while the monks are walking, a lot of times you see that the monk's eyes are not looking everywhere. It's more like looking 6 feet in or 2 meters in front of them, of him. Here is where, when you do this Vipassana meditation, when you do this mindfulness, automatically, if the mindfulness is there, automatically you're not interested in what is truly going on out there. Even like when your sitting starts to pick up, starts to have more continuous mindfulness, also you will find that the sensation or outside stimulation, you are not interested. You can sit there and pay attention to your object, but you still know what is happening, but the mind doesn't want to go there, or does not interested to go there. So when it has this quality, it helps in your Vipassana meditation. Now another quality of this mindfulness is also like it brings you back from forgetfulness into mindfulness. Forgetfulness here is not you forget about your past memory. It's not about that. Here the forgetfulness means you forget about your meditation objects. Say for example, you are doing the sitting meditation. While you are doing sitting meditation, your mind goes into all kinds of wandering creation stories. In other words, here you go into what we call forgetfulness. The Pali word is called appamada. No, appamada. Pamada, sorry. Appamada is pamada, yes. So pamada means that the mind goes into it while you're inside the story and everything. This is where your defilements, your desire, your anger, your fear, everything, you are opening the door for them to come in. But sometimes suddenly you aware that you are supposed to meditate. Then suddenly you flip out from it, and then rising, falling, rising, falling. So here is where you are out from pamada, heedlessness or forgetfulness, into mindfulness. Now here, as you practice further, there'll come to a time when your mindfulness is strong. So whenever the thought's going to arise, whenever it's going to come in, the mind already aware of it, that it already prevent that thought from coming up because of that mindfulness is there. So because of you are not fall into those stories, imagination, therefore the mind is being prevented from creating all kinds of mental defilements. So these are some of the qualities that you can use it for yourself and can feel it for yourself again and again in this retreat. When you have that quality, at least you know, hey, I'm mindful right now. So, so these qualities is all about learning on it, and also more importantly is to feel it again and again, to know exactly how is that particular state of mind, how is that state of mind related to your meditation. Now another quality of mindfulness, also as important as what I mentioned earlier on, is about exactly you know how to arouse that mindfulness. If you know all the qualities, if you do not know how to arouse it, that's also another problem. Here, the development of this mindfulness, the immediate development of this mindfulness, is the quality what we call prominency of an object. Now, prominency of an object, it can take several meanings. One meaning is that that object that you are paying attention to, that object is clearer than other objects. So if this object is clearer, you pay attention to this object, therefore mindfulness comes in. Say you sit down here for after half an hour, pain becomes strong right now. So it is stronger than all other objects of the body. So which one you should take? Because of that object is clear to you, therefore mindfulness comes in immediately. Yeah. But sometimes meditation object, they changes the prominency. It does not stay the same. Now sometimes that rising and falling can be clear to you, but after a while, sensation like something is warm in the body becomes clear. But it only lasts maybe, say for example, 1 minute. But after that, the rising falling become clear again. So what do? You change according to the prominency of the object. Or let's say rising and falling is not clear. Then you have to search for some other objects that is clear. Here the sitting and touching will be helpful. Yeah. Now, for example, when you do sitting and touching, if you find that the rising and falling is not clear, firstly you come to the hands first. Yeah. If you want to feel it a little bit more, sometimes then you feel a little bit more, just a little bit while. Just for a short while, just rub a little bit. Sometimes you can feel a little bit better. Yeah, sometimes because of that, it helps the mind to pay attention to it. Just for a short while, don't do it a whole hour. As long as you feel some sensation there, and then you stop, and then here you feel the sensation of whether it's warm, cold, and so on. Here, if you do that, immediately mindfulness, at least it comes for an extra minute. But there are times, prominency of an object, sometimes 3 or 4 objects come at the same time. Sometimes like you are sitting, if you are more experienced yogi, you may feel that sometimes there are 3 or 4 pain come at one go, at one time. You have buttock pain 1, knee pain number 2, head pain number 3, neck pain number 4. So which one are you going to choose when it comes like that? Yeah. So here is where, when it comes into a different prominency, if all the prominency are the same, here is where kind of like you throw the net of mindfulness into all of them and catch them, Right? If it shows you in that way, 3 or 4 the same prominency, because it shows you the way, actually you should learn to accept it and pay attention to it that way. Now, if 3 or 4 objects have the same prominency, this is the time that you have to pay attention to them as if like there's one. Accept them all together. Yes. Now sometimes when we have too much knowledge about Abhidhamma, we think that the mind can only take one object at one time. But in the practice, they forget that how fast the mind can go. So next time, whatever it shows it to you, however it shows it to you, don't use your own intelligence to take note. You must learn to feel them as they are, or to accept them as they are. Then also another thing is that the prominency of an object, as you go into deeper, it changes even faster. And it goes into the mind, body. Sometimes it's just stay 1 or 2 seconds. Another object stay just 1-2 seconds. Another object stay 1-2 seconds. But as if like the mind has so busy. Sometimes yogi have misconception that, in the past I was meditating, when I was watching my object, it was clear and nice. It stays there for a while for me to see before it changed to a next object. But this time, the moment I pay attention to it, 3 or 4 seconds, it already changed to the next object. 3 or 4 seconds, it's already changed to the next one. Am I progressing or am I going haywire? So a lot to do with accepting what you have not seen before, rather than what you believe or what you think that is true. If let's say, during in the sitting, and you pay attention to this, not clear, that one not clear, everything not clear, then what are you going to do? So this is the time, if you tried it as best as you can, nothing is clear, then get up from the sitting. Sometimes when you do a bit of 5 minutes walking or 5 minutes of standing meditation, then because you do that, the momentum comes in again. After that, you come back and you try again. Sometimes it helps to make all the objects become clear. Yeah. Now I have to mention this thing, because in other, sometimes I've also known that in other form of meditation, if they call it Vipassana, but they are taking up objects that is not obvious and is not clear. Now sometimes certain meditation technique, when you pay attention to an area, no matter, let's say this is a hand over here, so you have to pay attention to every part of the hand. Although the hand, the sensation of the hand, on a certain part, they are not clear. It's only perhaps is clear in some parts, but because of the technique, you have to change. You have to go through that particular arm, for example, whether they are clear or not clear. So, or sometimes some people want to start with Vipassana meditation, taking up mental objects. Because you see, the mind objects, for most people, in the beginning of the practice, they are not clear. If you try to put your attention, what is not clear, mindfulness is going to be very weak or not there. You will see the next few days also, for example, like in the walking and sitting, or comparatively walking and sitting, you begin to notice that the walking sensation is so much more clearer compared to a sitting sensation. So a lot of this prominency of an object is that you have to be able to experience them again and again. Then only in the future you are used to it. So this is something on mindfulness. Tomorrow also another aspect is like to make that mindfulness continuous, not just only mindfulness and arousing, but if you arouse it, you cannot sustain it. That's also another problem. Okay, we stop here tonight.
Sadhu, sadhu.